Hi everyone, and welcome to OneMicNite. Today we are OneMicNite Talking. This is the podcast that brings you stories of artists and people on their journey, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in life and the business. I'm here today with your favorite co-host. It's licensed clinical psychotherapist Shane Mark Tull. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well.
From Georgetown, Guyana. It's raining a lot here, but it's supposed to be carnival weekend, so people are out and about. So, hey.
People, they don't care about the rain, so let's go.
Rain can't stop a party, my friend.
That's right. So before we get into that, what are you doing there? I don't want to dive too much into your personal business, but are you working? Are you pleasure, or what's going on?
It's taking care of my mom's business. We have stuff here, so
okay.
After that, personal, financial stuff. But I'm hanging out with my twin brother, so that's always a good thing. So
that's right. Family time is always good.
Yes. I'm excited.
Well, listen, we have a couple of things to talk about, some things that are in the news and some things that affect people in their lives. And at the end of the podcast, please go to the notes because we're going to have some special notes for people who need some assistance in what we're going to be talking about. So as a preface to this, the conversation may get a little bit explicit, may or may not, but just giving you a heads up along the way. First up, I want to talk about what's going on in the current news with the Diddy trial. Several days into it, and several stories and witnesses have come forward. We had Kid Cudi, who we know is a musical artist. His legal name is Scott Mescudi, but we know him from his music, in the last few years. In the discussion, he was said to have been have a relationship with said person, Cassie Ventura.
Yep.
He alleged that some things happened after his relationship with her, and allegedly was done by Diddy, as far as setting his Porsche on fire, vandalizing some of his property. These are just some of the breaking, entering. Some of the allegations that the prosecutors have put together, to help convict Diddy. What say you about that?
Hey guys, so I just want to say, man, I've been seeing all the love and support, and I just want to say thank you so much, man. People have been hitting me up the past week, just checking in, and even today, and it really means a lot to me, man. You guys are the best. I love y'all. This is a stressful situation. I'm glad it's behind me. And yeah, I love y'all, man. Big love. Go Stream Neverland.
Diddy, what say you about that?
This is clearly a case around domestic violence. It's the premise and the main portion of the case. But so far, the prosecution have not linked this racketeering RICO status to it. Maybe that will come out. But what I thought the prosecutor did have done a good job really humanizing her and getting all that support. But so far, it still haven't come up to racketeering. Did he invest into all these businesses and collude all of these people into racketeering, trafficking, and all that stuff? So far, I haven't seen that. But clearly, we see a very disturbed person with an inflated sense of ego and self, really imposing his power, himself on people, and really having them fear for their life in a very real way. So I think that is as despicable as that is, I'm not seeing racketeering, I'm not seeing RICO so far, but definitely the domestic violence, definitely using your power to manipulate and really do really heinous things to people. Because even though people were involved and they see what happened, they were really scared to talk up because they were scared for their life. But really, I think it's important that we recognize that domestic violence is it's a they also have a psychological component. And we always ask why people stay. I think one of the reasons they stay because initially this is just the love of their life. It is perfect. It is just everything. And then just on the turn of a dial, this person becomes this monster. So the victim keep loving this loving kind person and really having conflict about leaving when this person becomes such a such a monster, because as much as they can become a monster, they turn on the charm as well.
Is that typically what happens when you get in positions of power? Is it typically, or do we find situations where there's manipulation with love, psychologically, domestic violence, getting people to do things against their will, against their morals, against their, and to revert back to what we were talking about, this case is not so much about what your sexual preference is. It's more so about the psychological and physical violence that occurred along with it.
And it's
So,
about power. It's about power.
right.
This is really the core of this is about power. So the victim continues to have conflict between this knight in shining armor and this monster. When I thought about it, I think of it this way of an addict. The first hit they get, it's really, really good. And every time they use after that is to get back to that. So is this person thinking, this knight in shining armor, he's going to come through again, and this time he's going to stay, and he will not become that monster. So we keep longing for that, but in reality, the monster eventually shows up.
Right. And psychologically, they break the person and make them, weaker.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then,
Yes.
and brings
Yeah.
them back.
He controlled everything about her, around her.
Stories that had surfaced years ago. Rumors of footage Diddy kept for leverage. None of it ever confirmed. Until now. Prince didn't speculate. He documented. "I've got files," he said. "Hard drives, tapes, photographs, all dated, all organized. I gave copies to 3 people. If anything happens to me, check with them." This was no longer just a recording. This was a whistleblower's blueprint. And it explained why Diddy had lost control earlier in the day. He likely knew what else might be out there. He likely recognized details that only someone inside his inner circle could have known. The precision of the tape, its alignment with the prosecution's existing timeline, was too perfect to ignore. As the recording neared its conclusion, Prince said something that may haunt this trial forever. "I've spent my life trying to protect my music, but now I realize it's the people who needed protection. And no one was doing it. Not really. Not when it mattered." The recording clicked off. Silence. The courtroom stayed frozen. And then, the prosecutor delivered her line. "No further questions, Your Honor." She didn't have to say anything else. Prince had done the heavy lifting. From the grave. Immediately after court was adjourned for the day, Diddy's team moved fast. They filed an emergency motion to suppress the Prince recording,
including her phone calls, the friends she hangs out with, the time she sleeps or not. Those are all psychological barriers that he's broken. I do want to throw out there that, from the statistics, 1 in 3 women have experienced some sort of domestic violence. 1 in 10 men have experienced some sort of violence, whether physical, sexual, psychological aggression, which means that that's about 12 million victims have experienced rape, the psychological violence, or stalking even.
Yep.
which
Yep.
averages out to about 24 people per minute. 24
Uh-huh.
people per minute.
Yes. Yes. Domestic violence is an epidemic in the world, especially in this country. And as much as we we are aware of it, we think we pay attention to it, a lot of times it happens right in front of us and we don't see it. Or it happens to us and
Hmm.
we don't recognize it.
Right.
Yep.
And a lot of times we recognize it and are silent about it,
Correct. We're
you know,
complicit. Yeah.
complicit. And I have to wonder, like, what do we do? What should we do? Obviously the right thing is to say something, but there's also a fear that goes along with it too, that if you say something, say if it's a man and a woman, you say something that the woman will probably go home and get it worse. Or,
Mm.
how do we get in there and mediate, or try to stop something from happening? I don't
I
know if
think
it's possible.
the goal is to empower her to develop a plan, an exit plan. If you can't just say go home and leave right away. You have to have a plan. Like start putting money away, start putting clothes away, have a emergency bag that you pack. You get your important papers, passport, that because the perpetrator holds all of that stuff. So they make sure that you really cannot leave. So you really have to plan this out. Yeah.
Right. Which is difficult too, because a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with, I'm not going to say just people of color, but there's a history of people of color who it's gone down through the generations, and it's been accepted in the way of complicity, as we just mentioned. It's all we know. It's all we knew. We saw our father do it. We saw our grandfather do it. We saw your uncle do it. So it's what we know, and then it continues on through the generations. So the people who are victims, they don't know, or they don't have the power, as you just said, being empowered
Yes.
to get away, to make a plan, to even think that there's something better out there.
They don't have agency to do that. They don't have the control over themselves. And when we look at it, that there are a lot of women have told other women that they know are being abused. Okay, just go home and make up with your husband.
Right. Exactly.
And it can't be that bad. Yes, it's that bad. So
Let's,
we
let's
also have to claim that responsibility that we have definitely have been complicit directly and indirectly into the whole trauma of domestic violence within our immediate and extended family, which reaches out into the broader society.
I think a lot of it too, has to do with, say if you're in a situation, well, I'm not going to say just men and women because we know that 1 in 10 men, but you're in a
Mhm.
partnership situation where uh, you are being abused psychologically, physically, sexually, whatever it may be. You often wonder for yourself, is there something better out there for me? Can I make it by myself? Or if I have kids, how am I going to take care of the
Mhm.
kids?
Yeah,
So I'll just
yeah,
continue to, be abused, and I'll continue to take it
yeah.
and endure it, maybe for the bettership of my kids, or maybe it'll stop, or, those type of things.
And sometimes we just rationalize this is what I deserve, and it's okay. I
Right.
got myself into this. I'm not going to do any better. And the perpetrator also makes you feel that way, that there's no one's going to take you, no one's going to love you, no one is going to care about you. I'm the only person that's going to take. I'm the best thing you have going, so you might as well accept that.
What do we say to the people who are victims of domestic violence and abuse and psychological torment?
Get a plan. Get help. Recognize the signs and seek help. Talk to somebody. There's always someone there you can talk to that will believe you. That will believe you, and especially if there are marks of violence in your body, because what happened to Cassie. This didn't happen in the dark. It happened in the dark, but a lot of people saw the marks of violence in her. So clearly, everyone in that in that space knew what was going on, but
Everyone knew.
they were too afraid to lose their jobs, and probably their lives, because he did say that, hey, people around here go missing.
Right.
So that's a very direct threat to someone who's trying to help her. And we also have to realize that when he met her, she was 19 years old, impressionable. He
Questionable.
was always this music mogul. I mean, he really was bigger than life. So imagine the power differential, even in the initial meeting, because she wanted to get record deals and be famous, and he had just held that carrot. Like,
Which is such a
I can
case
make
as
this happen.
yeah, it's the case that not just with him, but we've seen other stories come to light,
Yes, correct.
the Me Too movement. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen, we've heard stories of Tommy Mottola. We've heard stories of all of these people, Bill
Yes,
Cosby,
yeah,
all of these people, and even, I hate to say this, the king of pop. So whether or not it's true, these allegations exist because these people are powerful people
correct.
and or mentors in a
Uh,
way where young impressionable people or people striving for something fall victim to what they do.
and I think the other part of this that concerns me is that I'm I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the beginning of rap, there were a lot of Jewish lawyers I feel that was in the entertainment field and were exploited
Mm,
young black rappers
yeah, yep.
a lot. So when Puffy come along and other people come along and start making their own labels, it was really an attempt to take care of our own. And it really like burns me to think that you turn back and perpetuate the same thing that you were supposed to be taking care of your own people from. So
And that's the question that I have is, how does something that's intention was good turn out to be something so horrific if the allegations are true? You know,
yeah,
it's
when we become drunk with power and we're using power as an aphrodisiac and just to do what you want and create mayhem, this is what happens, I think. I think Oprah's one of the person that said if you have power and you're going to use it, it should always be for the welfare, for the betterment of people, not to destroy, not to ridicule or just be bombastic to someone, but really to improve humanity. So if you have power, use it for something good. And I think in this case, he did use some of his power for good things, but a lot of it was for nefarious things. And therein lies the tragedy of, someone that everyone looked up to, talked to. But I was looking at a news item, and was an entertainment reporter was saying that everyone knew and knows about these freak off. They participated because they wanted to be in that space with him because it represents
well, I gotta say,
pain,
it's that's part
torture.
of it, but I'm gonna have to say, some people are freaky. They like
Yeah,
to get
and
down, and if they feel
there's
like that,
nothing wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a freaky appetite as long
absolutely.
they were
Whatever your
all
sexual appetite
consenting.
is, yeah,
As long as they were consenting, I'm good with that. My
exactly.
problem is when he's using that kind of stuff to lure folks and probably drug them and tape them and blackmail them. That becomes
There's the
problematic for me.
problem. That's the
Therein lies
problem.
the problem. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And look,
I would-
and it goes further too. What are the long-term effects of these people who are the victims? These people who are underage. Look at some of these people, allegedly Justin Bieber,
yeah,
Usher,
yeah.
all these people now, even Meek Mills, who maybe he
Uh,
consented, but now he's getting backlash because his personal life is exposed, or maybe
mhm.
he didn't, maybe he did. I don't know, but someone's career is affected. What are the
Yeah.
long-term effects of this on these people?
It's ongoing trauma because these are not things, especially in the age of social media, that it's gonna blow over and Next week, there's going to be another scandal. We'll all be talking about that. But in the reservoirs of social media archives, it's out there.
It's
So
way out there.
at any time, at any space, somebody could pull it up and play it and start a conversation all over again. And I think it creates this ongoing anxiety about what's next, what are they going to find, and who's going to find it, and who's going to publish it, and will anyone want to work with me? Am I marketable anymore? So all that stuff.
Right.
So it's this ongoing sense of dread that let's waiting for the next shoes to fall, more or less.
Right. And someone making a mistake and being a public figure, and it's everywhere.
Yes.
We're all human, and it's
Yes.
also the public consumption of these type of things
Mhm.
too
Mhm.
that's fueling it. And for something to drag on, like you said, for 2, 3 years, this court case has been, in
Mhm.
court for a couple years now. So it
Yes, it
just
has
all
been.
is ongoing, and people are
Correct.
affected. It's traumatic in their lives.
Mhm. But also, it's important to recognize that for Cassie, the fact that she finally took charge of her life
Yes.
and gained agency over her life,
Right.
that is unbelievable, and it gives hope. Maybe her testimony and her story, well, I'm sure it will save a lot of women
A
or
lot
a
of
lot of
women, a lot of
people,
people.
period.
Yeah, definitely
People,
people.
period.
Yeah,
That's in that abusive space, because when she tells her story, it's compelling.
absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
compelling
And we have to
and
say,
spirit.
thank goodness, like it's like a plus and a minus that we have these cameras, because if that camera wasn't in the hotel, we wouldn't have seen the
Yeah,
footage of her trying to,
yeah,
get away on the elevator and
yeah,
being attacked. Pictures that have surfaced,
yeah,
some audio, and it's almost good that he had video cameras in his home, because people would not have spoken up. And thankful
yeah,
for Cassie, because I would say she's the one that broke the whole thing open.
yeah.
She cracked the
Mhm.
egg. Once her lawsuit came to light, more people started to speak up about what was happening.
And it takes a lot of strength and a lot of therapy, a lot of
Support.
support. I'm very happy she has someone that stands with her,
Mm,
and she's able to rebuild her life, and in a way that she's able to have children and have a healthy relationship with someone that cares about her and that will not use this to maim her, or she feels that after all of this, she's still a good person.
right.
Because when you're going through this kind of stuff on a very private level, it's embarrassing, it's demeaning, you don't want to talk about it. But to experience something like this in front of the world, literally, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of ego strength that comes with a lot of therapy, clearly, to get her to this space. So my prayer for her is that she continue walking in her truth, standing in her authenticity, and really, when she's ready, do some work in terms of advocating for abused women, about abused people.
These
Period.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, just judging from my experience, a lot of people who are citizens who've been to court and who have sat in juries, to be questioned, to be grilled, to
Mhm.
all your personal information, photographs, videos, all that stuff exposed in a case like this.
Yeah.
It's painful. It's bringing up opening old wounds
Yeah.
again. And you really need that support,
In
um,
front of the world,
in
not
front of the
just.
world. Absolutely, the world.
This is
Uh,
not isolated. This is literally in front of the world, and the world is literally seeing you naked and being battered and being bruised, and So the fact that she was able to come through that and be in the space that she is in today is completely remarkable.
right.
Yes.
At least in our appearance, we don't know what her day-to-day life is, but we
Yeah.
see her in public and she seems like she's holding strong. So I definitely wish her all the best. And all the people who are testifying and went through any kind of horrible situations in
Yeah.
this, and actually anybody who goes through this situation in life,
And
period.
in life, yeah, yeah. And we wanted to let them know that there is help out there, there is support out there, and not to blame themselves, and to recognize that if I make a decision today that does not speaks volumes or highly of my life, or I make a bad decision, tomorrow or next week I can make a better decision. And I can choose to say no and stop and start over again. So
Absolutely. And I do want to say before we get out of here too, all the people who are out there, do think about what you're doing. Do think about what you're putting on social media and on the internet. Once it's out there, it's out there.
yeah,
So please be careful. Don't do anything you'll regret. And as we say, we all make mistakes, but be conscious about what you're doing,
Correct.
in your personal life, and putting it on video and tape and things like that.
yes. And also for people that use other people's content to blackmail them and bully them, that is unconscionable as well.
Absolutely.
So we have a right to put out content. We don't have a right for someone to use that to blackmail us or to control us into doing things that we don't want to do. So it's important that we recognize that as well.
Absolutely. We want to know what you guys think. Please write down in the comments, hit us up. Also, if you need help or assistance in this area, there are going to be places to call and contact in the notes here. I want to thank you, Shane Mark Tull, licensed clinical psychotherapist, award-winning, with his new book on the way.
Yes.
Let them know how they can get in touch with you for services and otherwise.
Shane Tull, Instagram, Facebook. I think I'm on TikTok now. So we're all over. Yeah. So that's it. But hey, great talking to you. Enjoy your Memorial weekend. Be safe in New York. I'll be back soon.
Thank you, guys. That's Shane Mark Tull. I'm Marcos-Luis, Marcosluis. Inbox me with your questions. Don't forget, we have Ask the Doctor segments coming up. Also, follow the show at OneMicNite, ONEMICNITE. New episodes coming up. We got some great guests coming, as well as Shane Mark Tull will be back. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time. OneMicNite Talk. Bye-bye.